And spring's here, so it's time to get back in the garden. Monty Don will be here to share his tips on making the most of our outside spaces.
What on earth is happening, Matthew?
It's called spring. It keeps us on our toes, I'm afraid.
Might be spring arriving, but it doesn't really feel like it, doesn't
And it goes
But
again,
the
and winter
gardens
comes.
started bursting to life and then they kind of go back on hold again.
Yes, and there's a reason we're talking about this, John. Because horticulturalist and television presenter Monty Don has been on a journey across the UK, visiting gardens from the north of Scotland to the Cornish coast to find out what they say about us as part of his new book. Monty is here on the sofa with us now. Morning.
Good morning.
It's interesting. Those words suggest there's a little bit of a clue, isn't there? It's not always about the gardens, is it? It's kind of about the people.
It's always about the people. The really good thing to remember is you can't have a garden without a gardener. Gardens don't just happen. They're entirely made by mankind. They're totally artificial. What you try and do, is, of course, is make them look natural and to be as inclusive and as harmonious with nature as possible. But it's a partnership. And Derry Moore and I travelled from the north of Scotland down to the tip of Cornwall. We made a TV series, which was shown on the BBC last year, 5-part series, and we really took a look at British gardens, trying to see them with a sort of objective eye. What does it tell us about us? You know, we think we're just normal, we're just gardens. We're not. We're not remotely like the rest of the world. You know, our gardens are not the same. And it was fascinating. Learned all sorts of things.
So you say that the tour you did of the UK, you wouldn't be able to do a tour like that in any other country?
Well, no, I'd be able to do a tour like that, but because
the story it tells,
because the British are so obsessed with gardening, and our gardens are so good, we think that that's what gardening is. Of course, you know. I mean, a typical story is that I took some friends to Chelsea and showed them, and they say, and I said, I've got to go and film. We're doing. There's a television program about this. Yeah, and they said prime time. Yeah, I said, wow. In the States, you'd never get to make an hour's program. I said, we make 19 hours. We are obsessed by gardening. That's not always the case. We have an incredible climate. People complain about the weather in spring. It's wonderful. Yeah. It's wonderful for gardening.
Why
so
is
we
it
were
wonderful?
able to see all these gardens. Yeah.
Why is it so wonderful? I know
because it's so rare. We have the Gulf Stream. So you can see in the book how in the north of Scotland, you have Inverewe, which has got palm trees in the same latitude as Moscow. And you go down to Cornwall, we have... It's never too dry, it's never too hot, it's never too cold, it's never too wet. It feels it for humans, but plants love it.
As part of this tour, you went to the King and Queen's Garden in Birkhall.
We did, Birkhall. It's private, so we were very privileged to go. We went there. The thing about Birkhall is obviously it's beautifully looked after and it's big, but it's not grand. And it's got a sort of domestic feel to it, a softness, which actually tells you a lot about particularly the King's work he's done with the organic movement and sustainability, and the Queen too, who loves gardening. And they both love it as a garden as well as a home and a house. And when we were there, they were due to arrive soon. There were a lot of policemen with machine guns and all the rest of it. And they kept sidling up to me. I thought, oh, God, I'm going to be told off. And they'd say, Monty, could you tell me about my broad beans?
I'm asking about mine, but yeah, exactly.
and see the Queen's, the Wendy House was made in the 1930s for the future Queen Elizabeth and her sister. It's a very domestic space, albeit a very nice one, and I think that tells you a lot about our current King and Queen, and also the whole culture we have of gardening. It relates to what we want. British people have this dream of a sort of bucolic life, where we have lots of flowers, we have wildlife. It tends to be a retreat. It's not reality, but it's a lovely retreat.
Why is that? I know in the book you say it's because our gardens were always a place where we escaped from, the Industrial Revolution, essentially.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we still do. I mean, look at the world, look at the newspapers, look what's going on. Why would we not want to escape? It's a place of peace, it's a place of harmony, it's great for your mental well-being, for your physical health. It's great, if you do it well, it's great for wildlife. It's win-win-win. And it's not running away, it's actually finding the good. And I think every garden can do that.
You can't talk about British gardens without talking about gnomes.
Yes.
And you did a bit of gnome research
I
as well.
did. I visited a garden called Lamport Hall in Northamptonshire. There was a marvellous man called Sir Charles Isham, who was a lovely old gent, white-haired, and he imported the very first gnome in the 1850s from Germany. Well, actually, that's the last gnome he did. Very quickly tell you the story. He imported the gnomes, brought them in, and thought they were all alive. And for 50 years, he looked after them, and they lived in his rockery he built. When he died, his daughters, who obviously didn't get as much love as the gnomes, held a party, a shooting party, and they shot all the gnomes, except for one that fell down behind, and that is the one, and it's insured for £1 million.
The last surviving £1 million.
Wow.
£1 million gnome.
We heard last week, didn't we, that Chelsea are going to allow gnomes this year. Where do you stand on the gnome?
I think all power to everybody's elbow, whatever makes you happy.
Oh.
I don't feel snooty about gardening, actually. I mean, you know, I like poking sticks and rattling cages, but in the end, it's a broad church. There's room for everybody.
We've heard you talk a little bit recently about rewilding. We've spoken on this programme. We've had many people on talking about letting your lawn go wild and letting your garden go wild. Not such a fan, are you?
Well, I'm not a fan of it as a credo. I'm not a fan of it as a cult. I think that, you know, I've always been an organic gardener. We've got to have long grass, you've got to have nettles, you've got to have water. I want as much wildlife as possible. But gardens are gardens. And this idea that somehow people are spoiling nature and you can rewild your garden, what does that mean? You know, does it mean if you let it go, it won't be a garden? So it's a question of working with nature, not nature as the good guy and we as the bad guy. I just think that it's very easy to make it too simplistic. And in the end, you can have as much wildlife in a normal border full of plants from all over the world as you can in one with just native plants. We have this idea that there is a true moral way, and I don't buy into that at all.
You might have a rival. I've seen in the papers this morning that David Beckham could be displaying at Chelsea this year as well.
Good. Well, maybe he'd like to do garden as well.
You reckon?
Well, I'll tell you what, you've had some thoughts about that as well.
Well, no. I mean, I did a Chelsea garden last year. I'll tell you what, if he's going to do it, by the time he's done, he's going to be one tired man. It's a hell of a thing. It's a major operation.
It's really stressful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very full on. It's really full on. And wonderful experience, but I'd never do it again.
Any advice for him?
Yeah, just give himself to it. Forget your family, forget the rest of your life. You're going to spend 24 hours a day working on it. Fine. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I'll be there.
OK, fantastic. Monty, lovely to see you. Thank you for coming in on a Monday morning. And Monty Don's book, British Gardens.
And Derry Moore's book.
And Derry Moore,
book.
really important.
Yeah.
Derry Moore, who takes the beautiful photographs.
It's fantastic. It's out now.